Welcome to Muirfield Village Golf Club. We are excited to be here for the Memorial Tournament presented by Workday, and we are sitting, not standing, but sitting in the betPARX Lounge. This is the Golfbet Tournament Preview presented by betPARX. All right, welcome in. It's great to be here. I'm Will Gray, head of editorial for Golfbet, and joined by Ben Everill, our senior writer with Golfbet. Ben, this is old hat for you. You have been doing the Memorial basically since the start of time. Not quite, but close, right? This is a few in a row for you since 2011, right?
Yeah, that's right. Thanks, Will. Thanks for having me here, and hope we can give some good insight into the Memorial Tournament. Like you said, I've been here over a decade, 12, 13 years now. We've had some interesting winners, to say the least, but we've also had some big names in the last few years come through and win at Jack's Place, and I'm excited for that to happen again. Now that we're really designated, really elevated, this is going to be a huge week, I'm sure. We were talking before that the winners at this tournament have spanned the spectrum, right? We've had short favorites, we've had long shots, and to get an idea of how this week is going to shape up, we're going to need insight from behind the book. And that's why we have Matt Alba, executive producer for betPARX here. Matt, we're so excited to be here on site, kind of in your neck of the woods this week, but this is a huge week for betPARX at the Memorial. Talk me through just some of the big things you guys have this week.
Absolutely. We're thrilled to be here. We're thrilled to, be the official betting partner of the Memorial Tournament. Last year we were here and we hadn't even launched in Ohio yet. So people were kind of, just getting their feet wet with sports betting here in the state of Ohio. But now that we're here, now that people can wager while they watch the match, it's great.
I am sure that there will be no shortage of betting opportunities from you guys this week for the folks and the patrons that are going to be out here on site. The idea and the concept, you can watch the golf, you can bet on the golf as it's happening, really exciting, and I know we're excited for this week. But Ben, I want to turn it back to you. Like I said, we've covered this tournament a bunch of times. It's great to come back to the same course year after year, even though Muirfield Village can play differently depending on the weather, depending on the conditions. We've even seen it host back-to-back tournaments before during COVID in very different conditions. But what's the skill set that you're looking for? When you handicap this tournament, what shines for you in terms of, I need a player that can do blank?
Well, it's a ball striker's paradise. I mean, we can't get away from that. The last 8 winners here at the Memorial Tournament have been inside the top 12, I believe, in strokes gained tee to green on that week. The last 3 led the field in that category, and the one before that was second in that category. So it's clearly you've got to have your iron play and also be getting it in play off the tee if you want to play well here. Yeah, you need to putt. Of course, you need to do well on everything, but if you can't get tee to green and get away from all the diabolical stuff that Jack's got out there for those who are a bit errant, you're in trouble. So I really do look for those all-around players, but definitely the ball strikers. You don't have that, you will not win here.
It was amazing walking in here. We're just a few feet off the 18th hole, and it's almost like it's artificial turf, right? I mean, this has been a couple years since the massive renovation here at Muirfield Village, but this course is in absolutely peak condition. And Matt, when we look at the top of the board, we're not talking favorites. We're not talking a group of like 5 or 6. It's 1A and 1B, and it's been that case for several weeks now. It's Scottie Scheffler and Jon Rahm. From a book perspective, as you set up the odds, these two guys have been lights out all year long. Scottie Scheffler wins the Players. Jon Rahm wins the Masters. They've been right where they need to be, collecting trophies left and right. So what goes into deciding who's going to get a little bit of a head start on the odds?
Well, truthfully, these guys have been at the top of their leaderboard, like you said. So it's really not much of a surprise that Scottie Scheffler, he's plus 600, Jon Rahm, he's plus 700. And, coming into this week, even as some things change as we approach the start of the tournament, those two are not going to change. And I don't think that, many other guys are going to be creeping into that top 5 for lines changing and moving.
I mean, Patrick Cantlay's there. He's at plus 900, and so he's definitely a guy, we'll talk about this more, of someone that really shines on this course. And he has, I would consider, a win and a half. He and Jon Rahm both have a win and a half. They kind of split that 2021 year where Rahm got bounced with the 54-hole lead and had to withdraw. Cantlay went on to win. But Ben, when you look at Scottie Scheffler especially, as a betting favorite, coming off last week, there were 72 guys in the field at Colonial.
Yeah.
He was 71st in strokes gained putting. I think you and I were about, that's where we would have finished if we're putting those greens in Fort Worth. But he still only missed the playoff by 1 shot. That is how good his ball striking and tee to green work has been. It almost feels like he's playing as well as he was last year when he was scooping 4 wins early in the year, including the Masters. But he's kind of being overshadowed because Jon Rahm is getting the trophies, whereas Scheffler is the one that is dominating the stat line.
Well, mate, he literally is 1 or 2 putts a week away from winning.
Yeah.
I mean, literally that's it. And he's putting diabolically bad for someone who's playing that well, right? But he doesn't need that much improvement. That's the key to all of this. You mentioned he's 111th or something like that in strokes gained putting. It's ridiculous, given that he's first tee to green, first greens in reg, you know, first in just about every category, or in the top 3 in all of our metrics, except for that stuff on the green. So I think he knows that it's not his best category to go with, but if he just gets that incremental improvement, there's a reason he's the betting favourite. And look, he's going to win again soon. It's just which week is it going to be, and when are you going to get on the number, right? It's always going to be low. We've talked about this. That always frightens me off a little bit as a bettor, pre-tournament with 72 holes to go. But if he clicks, it's lights out. He could win this by 6.
It's amazing to me when we look at some of these lines, and we look at some of the special markets, Matt, that you guys have at betPARX this week, already popping up as the tournament approaches Thursday. Jon Rahm, if we had a Player of the Year vote right now, Jon Rahm's going to win. So it's very, very strange for me to see Jon Rahm at plus money, but that's where you guys have him, and that speaks to how well Scottie Scheffler is playing. That in this head-to-head, you've got Scheffler at minus 143, you've got Jon Rahm at plus 110, getting plus money on him just to beat Scheffler. I mean, these guys have been toe-to-toe all year long, and it's amazing to see. I'm excited to see what they're going to do this week in this course in absolutely mint condition.
Me too. I mean, Jon Rahm, the way that he's been playing this season, he doesn't seem to have any weaknesses right now. So the fact that they are neck and neck, personally, I look forward to his press conference coming up in a few hours. So we'll see what he has to say. But traditionally, you know, he crushes it here.
Absolutely. He crushes it, as we mentioned. Patrick Cantlay has been in 2 wins, a 3rd and 4th in his last 5 starts. Someone who has not been crushing it lately. I want to talk about this guy because, Ben, when you wrote a column for Golfbet in January, we forecast the majors. We said Rory McIlroy is the betting favorite for every major.
Every major.
Every major. Then we get into February and March, and Rory hasn't quite come around, but he's just behind Scheffler and just behind Rahm, and there's a big 3 narrative, and you're used to him kind of being the 3rd wheel there. Matt, you guys have him as the 5th favorite this week. He's at plus 1,400. He's behind Patrick Cantlay, who loves Muirfield Village. He's behind Xander Schauffele at plus 1,100. Neither of those guys have won this year on the PGA Tour. Neither has Rory, although he did win on the DP World Tour. But that has to speak to kind of the interesting position that we're in from a betting market perspective. No one really knows what to do with Rory McIlroy right now.
Yeah, I mean, even, you know, somewhat of a slump, you would call it. His up and down ability, and then the ability for Rory to just come out and win at any particular tournament, that's always going to factor into how we price the markets. And, you know, Rory, even I think he's 5th right now. You know, he's got too much talent to not be viewed as a favorite, and people will always bet him because, you know, not his just popularity, but for what I just said, he can come out and he can, you know, win here at Muirfield especially.
Well, we were talking ahead of the show. I know you had a line in with some of your head odds makers, and they mentioned that Rory is a popular pre-tournament play anywhere he goes. So there's a point of resistance, and you figure it's probably going to be in that plus 1,800. Maybe you get him out to 20 to 1, where people are going to start auto betting Rory McIlroy, waiting for that turnaround. And Ben, we haven't seen it yet. He did get that T9 at the PGA Championship at Oak Hill. It didn't really feel like a top 10, right? It wasn't one where Rory was really in the mix. You didn't feel like he had a great chance to win that tournament on Sunday. I know you were there that week. I was at Quail Hollow for the Wells Fargo, where he was kind of listless over the weekend. This is not the Rory McIlroy that we have come to know in terms of someone that can dominate a tournament when he is on song. When do you think we're going to see that, and are you willing to kind of take a stake and anticipate it, or are you going to wait for him to show you a little bit more?
Yeah, short answer, no. I'm not going to jump on Rory for the moment. But you guys are 100% right. He can come out and win at any time. He still is ranked 2nd tee to green on tour this year, but he is a distant, I think it's 144th or even further in putting. That's a problem for him. And also driving accuracy has been way off for Rory, so he's not finding the fairways. Most venues, you can still find the greens. This is one of the ones where that may not be the case. So I do worry about him. And to be honest, like, I love Rory. He knows that. We're good little mates. We get out there and we talk every now and then. But the reality is, until I feel like he's at peace with everything going on in his life, it's not just the golf that I'm worried about. It's just, he's just not settled with whatever's going on in his personal life, etc. Until I see that, I'm staying clear of Rory, and that's just the way it is for me.
And he's mentioned that. You know, he was very candid at the Wells Fargo, and we were there to say, you know, he's got things that are off the course that have his attention that he's trying to work through as he continues to get his game
Yep.
in good shape. And so I think that, we all anticipate it's going to be a quick turnaround for Rory. As soon as those cylinders are firing, he's going to be back near the top of the leaderboard. Those plus 1400s and plus 1600s are going to disappear real quick. But Matt, I know there's another guy kind of in that mix, a major champion from last year that has had maybe some similar struggles, also struggling mightily on the green. 133rd in strokes gained putting. You're kind of not sold on
Justin Thomas. As much as I love Justin Thomas as a human, and he's such an entertaining player, his slow start to the season, and truly, he hasn't really been in contention since last year's PGA Championship. So he's got the game to compete with anyone. But this year, and what you just said about his inability to kind of reach the green, that cold putter I think is going to keep him away from being in contention this weekend.
Yeah, I have been guilty of waiting for the JT turnaround. Hasn't quite happened yet. I'm in the buy low JT market at the moment, but I was also there at Wells Fargo and the putter went cold eventually. So we're going to have to see. Ben?
Oh, I just want to say on JT, like people get, I guess, seduced by the fact that he was runner-up here in the event that wasn't the Memorial that year. When it comes to the Memorial setup, he has not played that well here. Certainly not to the high standards we're used to. So people can get a little bit tricked by that one runner-up result, which, quite frankly, he probably should have won that tournament. He had a few chances. So yeah, that makes sense to me that JT's one to sort of at least wait and see.
Justin Thomas plus 2,800 to win this week at betPARX, plus 250 for a top 10, plus 110 for a top 20. Matt, I love these derivative markets where you're able to get, sometimes you have casual bettors that think, all right, if I'm betting on golf, I'm only going to be betting on who's going to win the tournament. But you guys at betPARX this week, you are rolling out the options here. There's a huge menu on different places where you can take your money, whether it's head-to-head matchups, make miscut, top 10s, top 20s, and it allows you to get behind multiple different players that maybe aren't necessarily the ones that are going to win the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do have specials and boosts this week here in Ohio. And something that we're really excited about to boost all week is any golfer to record an eagle in round one. We're going to boost that to plus 100. It's probably going to happen. Do you guys think it's going to happen?
I think it could.
Round one?
Yeah. Well, I got to see. It's all about par 5 scoring. So that's the other thing that is a big key for when we go back to Patrick Cantlay, leading the tour this year in par 5 scoring. When you look out here at Muirfield Village, par 5s are where you're going to get this golf course. Now, the renovation a couple years ago certainly toughened things up. I know, Ben, you and I were talking about the 15th hole. They added 37 yards of length, so it's a much different animal than it was maybe a couple years ago. It's harder to put a 3 on the scorecard on 15 than maybe it was at that point. But yeah, I think that a course like this, par 72, you get 4 cracks at it. I could see an eagle happening.
Yeah, we're excited for that boost. I do think that, one bet that we're excited about is a long shot for a top 10 or a top 20 finish would be Keith Mitchell. He's played a lot of consistent golf this year. He's been in the mix in the final round in some of the higher profile events. So he puts himself near the top of the field each week. So if he could come out here at Muirfield and impress some people, that'll, he's strong off the tee. I think that'll bode well for him here at the way that Jack sets his place up.
Absolutely. You're going to need it to be. You're going to need to be strong off the tee, especially if it's going to be firm and fast. Ben, you and I have, as we said, we've been to this tournament a time or two before. We're used to bringing lots of rain gear. It does not look like, I got to find some wood to knock on. It does not look like we're going to need it much this week. The forecast looks great, which means that these, the superintendents and the team of the agronomists, they're going to be able to set this thing up as firm and as fast as they want it to be.
Yeah, I love that. And as I said, that again brings that tee to green game into play, though. So you have to bring that if you're coming here. And look, if you want a little omen, I was riding a rental car shuttle with Keith Mitchell's caddy. I mean, throw that at you. He's a good bloke, absolute champion. And he reckons that Keith's in sensational form and is expecting something good. Now, Keith's been playing a lot, and he said he just needed to sort of come into this week and have a little bit of time to rejuvenate, but he thinks that is actually going to be what sends him up to another level. So we'll see if that's the way it plays out.
See, if you're listening at home, the key to good inside information is the rental car line. That's where all the info happens.
Hey, there's something to be said for the first guy you see.
Yes.
Maybe putting a little sneaky one on the first guy you see. So we'll see which player that is for each of us a little bit later on.
Yes. But we mentioned long shots and mid-range guys. You only have to go back a year, Matt, where you had Billy Horschel, really strong tee to green play, but he was in that plus 4,500 range for you guys at betPARX. Went on to win very convincingly. So as we look out into this year's handicap, a guy that sticks out to me is going to be Corey Connors. When we talk about, a player that's really strong, tee to green, but maybe doesn't have the putting week in and week out. We saw him win earlier this year at the Valero Texas Open. He's at plus 4,000, plus 335 for a top 10 finish. He's definitely on my short list, but are there guys that are sticking out for you guys from an odds maker's perspective, maybe players that you've already seen the line start to drift a little bit as these bets have started to come in?
Yeah, we've seen the line move a little bit on Hideki Matsuyama. Okay. He's really the only one, as we're still early in the week, and with golf, a lot of guys will tend to bet later in the week. Yep. Right before the tournament. But kind of a B-tier guy that we are looking at, we've seen some action on, is Cam Young. Burst onto the scene last year, obviously, and outstanding rookie year. Right now he's priced at plus 3,500, but he's proved that his game is ready to get that monkey off his back and get that first win. Could it be here at Muirfield? Time will tell.
Well, you mentioned Hideki Matsuyama. He got win number 1 here back in 2014. We had a run of 3 straight first-time winners, 14, 15, 16, but haven't had a first-timer since then. So maybe Cam Young could fit that mold. Ben, as we look at the menu of what you want from a player to play well here at Muirfield Village, Cam Young ticks pretty much every box.
Yeah, look, if he brings his best, absolutely he'll contend. If he can stay disciplined from the tee and into the greens, there's no reason why this can't be where he nabs that so far elusive first win.
Anyone else in that mid-range that is sticking out to you? Maybe a player that could win for the first time, or maybe in that 50, 60, 80 to 1 range that you think could have some value and could still be a live ticket come Sunday?
The first one I'll go to is the guy that was pipped by Cam Young for Rookie of the Year last year, Sahith Theegala. I think Theegala is made for this course. He was 5th last year. Look, his stats this year don't necessarily ring as true in the tee to green game for the whole, for the entirety of the season. But when he plays here, he brings his best A game in that regard. So I'm expecting that we could see, if we do see someone like Horschel last year, it could be Theegala. The other one I like is an Aussie like myself in Adam Scott, the veteran Adam Scott. I think that you're looking for a guy who can pull out an all-time tee to green week. Adam Scott's your man. He's been around this place obviously even more than I have. So I expect good things from Adam Scott if he can get off to a decent start.
You fancy an Aussie, huh?
Yeah, how about that? One of those things. If I don't get one Aussie in every week, then someone has to put out the APB and make sure it's really me and not some AI clone or something.
I will say I did have Adam Scott circled when we talked about some of those secondary and derivative markets, Matt, that you guys have this week at betPARX. You look at that first round leader market, right? So maybe if you're a casual bettor and you don't want to wait 4 days to try and potentially cash a ticket, that's a way to get in just on Thursday's round. You have a quick turnaround, an easy decision. Adam Scott plus 5,000, 50 to 1 to lead after the opening round at a course that has been noted. He has played well before, but I want to go back to a comment you had earlier, Matt, and that was the timing of golf betting. When we're used to this weekly cadence, so if you have Monday through Wednesday and the lines are coming out and additional markets are opening, but correct me if I'm wrong, it's a different bettor that is going to wager on the openers on Monday versus someone who's going to get their bets in an hour before the tee time on Thursday versus even the guys you still see action occurring after the opening round has started. Mid-tournament, in-play lines, that's still a big piece of your business, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of our high-profile players, sharp bettors, if you will, they truly wait until the lines open and they see who's moving. We know that last year most bets they were on Rahm, Cam Smith, Billy Horschel, and Rory, and about 30% of those were only placed until after the round opened. Yeah. But that's where a lot of the money comes from, is from those high-profile VIP players who are, sharp and smart with their money.
I mean, that's a big chunk of change. We're talking about a 70-30 split in terms of pre-tournament versus in-tournament. This is absolutely something where as the action unfolds around us here at Muirfield Village, you guys are going to have updated markets. It's not just outrights, but it's top 10s, top 20s, additional head-to-head play. So there are going to be multiple ways, correct, for folks to get involved, and especially those, again, Ohio is now a legal betting state. This is going to be an opportunity for folks that are attending this tournament to get action on the golf as they watch it play out. It's got to be a huge plus for the fan experience.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, because a lot of people who will come here, they wait to see who's been playing good after the first few holes. And two of our most popular markets truly are who to make the cut. Yep. And you're only going to really feel that out after you watch a few holes, see who's swinging well and hitting the fairways. So that's definitely another added bonus to coming here to the Memorial.
Yeah, and Ben, you and I have talked a lot as we've dealt with, it's kind of been Groundhog Day with Rahm and Scheffler at the top of the board so often, but it really is when you get the live in-play markets, that's an opportunity to maybe buy at a higher point than you would in pre-tournament stuff. You think back to what Rahm did at Maui at the Century.
Yeah, look, let me tell you folks, if you haven't figured this out yet, live golf betting is where it's at. If you're out here especially and you're seeing what's going on, you're going to get those ebbs and flows, and you're going to get to ride the roller coaster that is golf. No other sport can you get sensational odds late in a tournament, which can actually happen. You get a guy who can make a double bogey or a couple of double bogeys. Harry Hall last week, going from here to here to here, and then still being in the mix. You're going to have that scenario again in most golf tournaments. So look, get out here, have your betPARX app going, and ride it. Like if Scheffler bogeys the opening hole, he might go to plus 900. Plus 1100. He can still win from there. We saw Tom Kim with a quadruple bogey last year on the first hole and win a tournament. These things can happen. So ride the wave in golf. It's where the fun's at. It's where you can have a really good time. And if you're out here, I definitely think you should get involved. And even if you just watch those odds, so you get an understanding of how it works, it's definitely a lot of fun to be had.
Absolutely. There's so many different ways to get involved, and it doesn't, as we said, does not just end once you see the first guy tee off on Thursday. But Ben, I want to go back to you as we talked about these secondary markets, and Matt just hit on it. Make, miss, cut options. So this was fun. We were having fun with this before. When you look at the betPARX pricing, it's almost a would you rather situation. Scotty Scheffler is plus 600 to win this golf tournament. He's plus 600 to miss the cut. That is how much confidence there is in Scheffler's ability. Remember, he has not been outside the top 20 since October. He has been an absolute machine. Is there anyone that you look at, maybe those high-profile names that have plus money to miss the cut where they're not quite in full form, or do you really want to go after someone like Rahm or Scheffler to have an early exit, which would shock all of us, but at the same time, not everyone that we see at the top of the board is going to play well every day.
Someone big will miss the cut.
Yeah.
I don't know who it is. It's going to be someone. that happens almost every week on tour. I thought last week might have been a candidate for Scheffler to potentially be that guy, but it ended up being Jordan Spieth. It ended up being someone else at the PGA. These things happen every week on the tour. So there will be someone. As I've talked about earlier, I'm still wary on Rory. I'm not sure whether or not he is exactly in the greatest frame of mind, but I also can see him doing what he does often and backdooring a top 10. So it's something that you can take, a lottery shot at. Another guy that I think probably a lot of people think will play well here that may not is Viktor Hovland. I'm big on Viktor, let me tell you, for the US Open in a couple of weeks, but maybe just with that fatigue from the last few weeks and thinking ahead a little bit, he could be a candidate for a surprise miscut.
Viktor Hovland plus 335 to miss the cut at betPARX. Rory McIlroy plus 350. So those are some of the markets and the prices that you're looking at. Again, there's 120 guys in the field, Matt. Top 65 in ties are going to make the weekend. So you wouldn't expect, Rahm, Scheffler, McIlroy to miss the cut necessarily, but it doesn't take much. There are thin margins out here at Muirfield Village, again, with the course already in mint shape as we're talking on Tuesday, but at the same time, it's only going to get harder as we get closer to Thursday and certainly into the weekend with those final rounds.
Yeah, 100%. One guy that I think is going to make the cut is Xander Schauffele. He's made 25 consecutive cuts made.
Yeah.
So I think that he's going to come out here. He's 6 ahead of the next player. And Schauffele only has finished outside the top 20 in one time, and that was the first time playing in the event 5 years ago. So, we certainly like and we look to Schauffele to play the weekend.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely one that would surprise me, given where he's at with his game. I saw him a few weeks ago at the Wells Fargo. He was really playing well, nearly won that tournament. You guys have him minus 175 for a top 20. So that speaks to the confidence level. More often than not, he's going to not only make the weekend, but he's going to be in contention. Ben, he's right there in that mix with Patrick Cantlay of a guy that if you look at the stat line, he should have a couple trophies to his name. I know he grabbed a couple around this time last summer, but he's definitely someone who would not surprise either of us if he's in the mix.
Yeah, look, this I might be seduced by this. I'll give you a little story, but a few years ago we had a rain delay down here at the turn, and in the halfway house I was sitting in there with Xander Schauffele and Patrick Cantlay, and we were just shooting the breeze while they was waiting in place, potentially go back out. And Xander was very bullish on, no, I'm going to win this at some point. Like, I'll win this tournament at some point. And I believe him.
Yeah.
Honestly, I've got him as a top 5 option on my picks this week. I think that at some point this will be a place that he'll get it done. It could very well be this week.
Plus 275 for
There you go.
a top 5 finish this week for Xander. But, I know we were talking also about some of these head-to-head matchups. And Matt, that's another way that I think is fascinating for whether you're, a seasoned golf bettor, let's say, or if you're a casual fan or someone that's just, maybe showing up to the Memorial Tournament not knowing that you can bet through betPARX while you're on site here, and all of a sudden, hey, this is a different way to consume the golf. But a head-to-head matchup is a way for you to isolate, right? You can get, I'm rooting for this guy, I'm rooting against that guy. It sets up for folks that are used to betting. Maybe you were just betting on Game 7 with the Heat and Celtics, and I'm rooting for them, I'm not rooting for them, but it's a different environment versus, hey, I've got one guy against 119.
Yeah, for sure. And, when people come to golf tournaments, sometimes you tend to follow around your favorite golfer, and whoever they're playing against that day, you could just make that little matchup yourself. So it certainly keeps the live element betting of sports betting fun while you're at a tournament. So who's paired together on Thursday? Have they announced
Well,
it
we're
yet?
not sure about that, but we do have some head-to-heads, and I'll say there are a couple that definitely jump off the page for me. And one is Victor Hovland, minus 103 against Rory McIlroy. We've talked about I'm not sold on Rory right now. I want to see more out of him before I really would look to invest. But Victor Hovland is ticking all the boxes. Coming off that near miss at the PGA Championship, you wonder if there's going to be a little bit of an emotional hangover, but still, he is so strong tee to green. I really like Hovland this week. Ben, I know you had a couple of matchups circled as well. You got Theegala there against Sam Burns, right?
That's the one I like. As I said, I mentioned Theegala as a long shot option. I think he's minus 103 versus Sam Burns. I think that Theegala can get it done in that matchup. Look, you mentioned Hovland and Rory. They're matched up together, and I got those two guys potentially being a struggle. But I do like Hovland in the head-to-head, as you mentioned. Look, another guy I'm waiting to see if he can, he has the numbers, but he's just been letting me down of late, is Tom Kim.
Yeah.
He's minus 103 against Hideki, who you said is getting a lot of love over there, Matt. Hideki's always a bit of a worry for me. He's still got that lingering neck issue that pops up every now and then. And Tom Kim has the stat line for this place. Hoping I get to see him in the next few days before kickoff, if you will, and see if he's in the right frame of mind. But he's one I saw that potentially could be a bit of value there as well.
Any mud around here? I need to check over behind 14 green here. Do we have any Tom Kim danger zones that he's gonna end up swimming again like he was at Oak Hill? I think we'll be okay. But all right, guys, I want to talk long shots because this is there are, as we said, there are different ways to look at this thing. You don't necessarily have to just pick a winner, but sometimes we've seen long shots win here. You look back and think David Lingmerth back in 2015, William McGirt in 16.
Dirty McGirty.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of different ways to get to the winner's circle here, and I will lead off here because I feel like I've asked you guys enough questions.
Okay.
Sepp Straka. 150 to 1 to win this thing at betPARX. He is 10 to 1 plus 1,000 for a top 10, 4 to 1 plus 400 for a top 20. Matt, there is a huge correlation in my mind when I look to handicap this tournament of other Jack Nicklaus venues. If you play well at one Nicklaus course, you probably play well at a lot of them. And we see that with Sepp Straka, a former winner at the Honda Classic down at PGA National, finished T5 there just this year. We've seen guys play well at PGA West at the American Express. You think of Jason Duffner, David Lingmerth, and I like that Sepp Straka is coming off a T7 finish at Oak Hill at the PGA. The tee to green game is there. I am riding Team Austria this week. Let's go.
Let's go, baby. One of the long shots I really like this week, Keith Mitchell.
Yes.
Keith Mitchell played a lot of consistent golf so far in 2023. He's been in the mix in some of the final rounds this season. He puts himself near the top of the field each week with his overall driving off the tee stats. Again, that's going to bode well for how he sets up. Jack? For how Jack sets up.
So I'm Team Austria. You're Team Visor. You're going to go with the leisure wear. Ben, what do you got?
You want me to go Team Aussie, or do you want me to go somewhere else?
Come on.
I'll give you something else.
Give me
I'll give you the guy who's running 4th in strokes gained approach and inside the top 40 tee to green, and that's Tom Hoagie. I think that he at 125 to 1 is a sneaky play there. I could absolutely see him, firing up. What was his shot at the Players? Was it a 62?
62.
At the Players, I could see him even opening with a random 63, 62 out there and putting the cat amongst the pigeons, so to speak. So I saw that number and thought there's some value there. The other guy I will throw in my little Aussie dig, but Cam Davis, 125 to 1 also, I think has a sneaky tee to green game that that might surprise here, even though he hasn't played that well here before.
Putting a cat among the pigeons. Every time we talk, you come
Is
up
that a
with
new one?
You come up with a new one. This is nice. This is good. I expand my lexicon every time I hang out with you. This is good. Matt, you mentioned a few of these ways that betPARX is really going to expand their offerings. You've got a couple boosts lined up, but let's just remind folks of what you guys have on offer, not only for the folks that are going to be here at the Memorial, but other folks all around the state and all around the areas where you guys service of ways that they're going to be able to get involved on the Memorial Tournament this week starting Thursday.
Yep, so some of the specials that we're offering, and if you're not familiar with sports betting, a special is just truly a way where we boost certain odds on certain, things, right? So some of the things that we're offering here at the Memorial this week, any golfer to record an eagle in round one, that's boosted to plus 100. Then we're doing each round, anyone to record a hole-in-one, so those odds are boosted as well. And then the last thing, we got a special boost on former champions odds ladder boost. So John Rahm to make the top 10, Patrick Cantlay top 20, and Billy Horschel top 40. So that's boosted as well.
So talk to me about what a ladder boost or what a ladder bet is. I know you mentioned a couple different guys at different markets. Are they all linked together?
Yeah, it's almost like we kind of bake in a parlay for you. And the higher you go up the ladder, progressively the odds get better. So if you only like two of them, you could take two of them there. If you like all three, your odds are going to be higher. You're going to win more money. So for the more risk-averse bettor, you might stay away from a ladder. But for the riskier guys, take the ladder.
A lot of rungs on those ladders. There are a lot of different ways to
Climb them up.
Yes. All right, guys, it's time to make some decisions here as we wrap things up here on the Betting Preview Show, presented by betPARX. I need a winner. I need a wild card. Who's going to walk away? Who's going to get the handshake from Jack Nicklaus come Sunday? I'm going to lead us off, and I'm going to take the X-Man, Xander Schauffele. It is wild to me to see him priced above Rory McIlroy, to see him his shorter odds than Rory, and sometimes, Matt, you guys are telling us something. When we put the odds together and you say, hey, what's going on with that? Sometimes the odds makers know, right? There's a reason that you guys have the big fancy buildings. And I think that Xander Schauffele absolutely fits this course to a T. He is a well-rounded player with a well-rounded game. I saw him a few weeks ago at Quail Hollow. He nearly won that tournament. I think he gets over the hump this week and gets it done. For a wild card, again, I'm going with Austria. Sepp Straka plus 400 for a top 20 play. I like it. Who do you got, Matt?
All right, so for my favorite, I'm going with John Rahm.
Okay.
Is that basic? I mean,
Hey, he's not the favorite. You're getting some,
he's not the favorite.
He's below Scheffler, so that's good. We're covering our bingo squares at the top of the board here.
Exactly, and then I'm going to go with my wild card with Corey Connors. Okay. So right now he's priced at plus 335, I think, to finish in the top 10, but he's a ball striker. He's going to do well here. He just had a great few rounds at the PGA, and it was his putting that got him there. So this course is set up for him. So I think that he could emerge victorious.
Oh, absolutely. Even just a top 10, I mean, that's a great price in the top 10. If he putts like he did at Oak Hill, I think we would all be shocked if he's not in the mix come Sunday. Ben, winner and wild card, what do you got?
I got to go with Rahm as well. Third tee to green, and the fact that he's not the favourite does surprise me a little bit. I know how good Scheffler's going, but Rahm owns this place. He should have won twice, as we know. He was 6 shots up when they took one of the events off him here. 10th last year. I think that he'll be in the mix. And as for a wild card, well, the other guy I really like this week in Cantlay, you can get 335 that he'll lead at any stage after a round. So whether it's 1, 2, 3, or 4 with betPARX, I think at some point Patrick Cantlay will be in the lead as well. So that's where I'm going.
So we spent a big chunk of this show talking about how awesome Scottie Scheffler is, and then none of us pick him. So woe is us when Scottie Scheffler ends up winning this thing by 5 shots like he did at the Players' Championship. But I don't think any of us would be surprised to see it go down that way. But Matt Alba, thank you so much for joining us. Ben Everill, great work out of you as always. We are so excited to be here at the Memorial, at Muirfield Village, and in the betPARX Hospitality Lounge. I know it's a huge week for you guys, Matt. Really excited to see how it plays out.
So are we. Thanks so much for having us.
All right, well, thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the Memorial, and good luck with all your bets all week long.